So, actually, I had said that it is up to two parts. So the basics of actually the talks will be introductory in nature and a little bit of research. So how can I share my PPT here? Okay, there is a share.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Share option is there.
Yes, yes. All right. Is it shared now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So basically, I will have a description of electric vehicle, hybrid electric vehicle, and then one of my area is switch reluctance motor. So that is quite being popular now. Now people have started working the use of switch reluctance motor in electric vehicle. And in one visit when I visited Finland, there is a research organization called VTT. So I had done some work on switch reluctance motor for levitation purpose, and the same can be used for the vibration control in the same methodology for the vibration control. As when switch reluctance motor is used, there is lots of noise. So first part I will discuss the basics of this electric vehicle types and types of hybrid electric vehicle, a little bit of this government policies in electric vehicle. So I welcome you all, the participants, to this session. So just a second. Yeah. So for the past few decades, internal combustion engine, you know that I mean all of us are using internal combustion engine vehicle. So almost everyone in our houses we have, and it has a conventional powertrain system, and it has dominated the transportation industry. But the concern is growing the emission, the greenhouse gas effect, the pollution. So electric vehicle, depending on their source of electric energy, have the potential to be zero emission vehicle and have potential as a future alternative to internal combustion vehicle. However, despite considerable improvement, electric vehicles still have a limited driving range due to the limitation of the current electrical storage technology. So all of you know that the problem is that all of us we are not using because we cannot use it for a long time. So problem is the storage. Okay. So this problem is again addressed by using this hybrid vehicle. So that combines both the IC engine and then and then electric and the battery capacity. So the hybrid vehicle uses or any other alternative source. So they uses both of the technology, and then in terms of that, what it does, it improves fuel economy, lower fuel cost, reduce emission, etc. So electric and hybrid vehicle presents many new and complex design challenges that are absent in well-established conventional automotive technologies and transportation system. In addition to striving to meet increasingly strict requirements for fuel efficiency and economy, vehicle safety performance, environmental protection, automotive industry is expanding considerable effort and resources to address the challenges associated with developing hybrid electric and electric vehicles. So these are the challenges. Oh, I'm not able to switch. Just a second. Yeah. So this is, I think, at that time when lockdown happened. So these kind of pictures were quite popular in newspaper. That the see the clear image. So once in the one is the regular day and one is when there was a lockdown. So if you compare, then in the coronavirus impact, so all the most more populated cities, see Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Bangalore, Chennai, so they have seen the reduction in improvement in air quality index. So if you see the overall, then India has 14 of 20 most polluted city in the world. So we government is thinking about it, and whole world is moving towards the implementation, and it has one more effect on the forex reserve also. So all the fossil fuel that is used in India, 84% imported, which depends on the forex reserve on the country. So you can see that India imported crude oil worth 88 billion in financial year 18, and in it 21% was from the forex reserves. So crude oil import dependency is increasing per year. You see, for financial year 14 it was 77%, to it reached to financial year 18 83%, and there are this is not the updated data. So it has several impact. It has impact on the infrastructure, economy as well, and it has the effect on the environment as well. And considering the energy efficiency we see, then in terms of energy efficiency, it is at least 4 times more efficient than internal combustion engine vehicle, because it has 50% less moving parts. So if you see, this is an internal combustion engine. So if we give 100% energy input, then 62% goes to heat loss, 17% idle loss, uh, and then 6% in driveline loss. Then only 15% is going to use tank to wheel. Means whatever the energy we are going in getting in tank and it reach to wheel is only the 15%. So similarly, but if we see in the electric motor, then if 100% energy input we give, then due to the reduced mechanical parts, so 80% we are able to deliver. So electric vehicle is very efficient, but it has few challenges. So there are various domains of research in this area. So like one becomes motor, one becomes a battery, one becomes then again power converters, and then so these things, and then the charging stations. So these are the major research areas if we consider this implementation of battery electric vehicle. So what are the obstacles? So first obstacle becomes the affordability of electric vehicle. So many people overestimate the cost of an electric vehicle. In fact, switching from a gasoline powered vehicle to an electric one means lower cost of vehicle ownership for everyone, including middle class and low income families. Many countries have announced plans to stop selling new gasoline vehicle. As of the Norway announced that after 2025 there won't be any new gasoline vehicles sold. Now China is leading an electric vehicle revolution. So most automakers are already committed to electrify their fleets. As automakers increase production to serve the growing global demand for EVs, they will gain economies of scale. So once production increases and in a larger scale it gets implemented, so obviously then it will become more affordable. So there is a lack of charging infrastructure. So in India, if we see, then the 300 electric vehicle charging stations are available. So by 2023, Government of India is planning to set up 2900 charging stations. So we actually lack quite a lot of charging infrastructure, and this is the reason people are not using this electric vehicle, because once we use, suppose you have to move from Srinagar to Delhi, and then in between if you don't have any charging station, then it may create problem. And so what we need to improve the battery technology as well. So then it should be lower way, so weight should be lesser, energy density should be higher. Again, then volumetric energy density, watt hour per liter, that should also be higher. So but research is going on. So if you see, Then from the year 2011, 80 watt hour per kg to it has increased in 2020 to 310, and in that sense price is also decreasing. So with time research is going on, and then soon it should be in the range of affordability, and people may start using it. So now coming to the classification of electric vehicle. So basically, if we see, then broadly we can divide it into three part: battery electric vehicle, hybrid electric vehicle, and then fuel cell electric vehicle. So battery electric vehicle, we can consider converted rear wheel drive, or we have the front wheel drive. We have then in wheel or out wheel motor. So out wheel motor, rear wheel drive, out wheel motor, front wheel drive, and dual out wheel motor, front wheel drive. So, and hybrid electric vehicle can be classified as micro hybrid, mild hybrid. So I will go. I will discuss one by one what is it. So micro hybrid, mild hybrid, full hybrid, and plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. So full hybrid, again, it is class. It can be classified as parallel hybrid, series hybrid, power split, and compound hybrid. So we'll see. So this is the battery electric vehicle architecture. So basically, you have a electric motor, and then you have a battery, and which is plugged, which can be charged from the outside. So battery electric vehicle use one or more electric motor for propulsion and batteries to store electricity. The battery store energy to power all the electrical systems in the car, like electric motor or any other auxiliary system. So the battery can recharge from grid electricity at recharging station, or we can charge it at house outlets, non-grid sources. We can have solar panels or wind charging station. So battery electric vehicle can potentially emit zero greenhouse gases and air pollutants. However, the type of electricity generation determines the well-to-wheel emission. So what it means that we say that battery electric vehicle will reduce the emission, but it depends on that what kind of electricity we are using. If we are using the electricity which is generated using coal, then there is a localized emission, that where we are using electric vehicle, their emission is reduced, but wherever the electricity is being generated, there we have pollution. So but if we are using solar, wind, or nuclear energy, then we are reducing overall emission as well. So this is the powertrain of structure of the battery electric vehicle. So the electric powertrain system function to provide the required propulsion power in accordance with the commands of the driver by interfacing the batteries with the vehicle wheels at a higher efficiency. So generally, electric power consist of subsystems. So you can see that you have a electric motor, you have a power electronics component, and then you have a storage component. So power electronics component, then you have this used in driving the motor, and then it can again used for the charging of the batteries, and then we have some mechanical module which is consist of the transmission system. Okay, so this becomes the overall powertrain of a battery electric vehicle. So the what we discussed, the converted one type, we saw that converted rear wheel drive electric powertrain system. So this is the here we have a differential gear in the rear wheel, and then we have an electric motor, and that is driven by the battery, and this is through some mechanical transmission. Through the differential gear, it is connected to the wheels. So if this is connected to the front wheel, then it becomes front wheel drive electric powertrain system. All right. So now, depending on the number of location of the motor, categorization of the electric powertrain can be as in-wheel motor or out-wheel motor. So if this motor are connected with wheel itself, then it becomes in-wheel, or if it is outside like this one, then it becomes out-wheel. So in an out-wheel configuration, one or more electric motors are mounted on the vehicle chassis and provide the traction forces to the driving wheels either directly or through gear units and differentials. While an in-wheel configuration, so you can see this is an in-wheel configuration, it provides the traction forces through motors located inside the driving wheel. So here in wheel itself, motor is there, and it has some fixed gearing along with it. So in-wheel motor technology can minimize or even eliminate the mechanical components of an electric powertrain system. In this design, electric motors are inside a pair or all of the wheels with or without a fixed gearing. So fixed gearing along with a fixed speed inner rotor electric motor enables the desired wheel speed to be achieved by to provide sufficient maximum torque, typically 4 or 5 times that of the rated torque for temporary acceleration and hill climbing. All right. So basically, so we have if we have the motor in the wheel itself, then it becomes in wheel. So now we'll see that what are the out wheel motors. So out wheel motor, rear wheel drive. Again, there will be rear wheel drive and then there front wheel drive. So this configuration consists of an electric motor, fixed gearing. So there is an electric motor and then there is a fixed gearing, and then it is connected to a differential. Typically, the fixed gearing is a planetary gear set with fixed forward gear ratio along with one reverse. So generally, all the vehicles have a reverse gear. So unlike conventional IC vehicles, modern electric vehicles can easily achieve the desired torque speed characteristics for vehicle motion through a combination of an electric motor and fixed gearing. In comparison to converted electric powertrains, this configuration has a simpler structure because there is, powertrain is there is no complication in it. Has a simpler structure, lighter weight, and a smaller size due to the removal of the complex transmission system and its clutch or torque converter. So another one is that out wheel motor front wheel drive. So here we have out wheel motor front wheel drive, and then similarly we can have dual out wheel motor front wheel drive. So now again front wheel drive, so for the both of the wheel we have a separate motor. In the previous configuration, like this out wheel motor front wheel drive, the motion of the left and right wheels are separated from each other by a mechanical differential. Okay, but in this one what will happen, and has the differential we have removed, so separate electric motor and fixed gearing drives the wheel. This configuration provides better vehicle stability since electric motor can accurately control individual wheel torques. However, the use of an additional electric motor, power converter and fixed gearing increases the initial cost of the system, because here everything will be doubled. So it little bit increases the cost. So now if we come to the hybrid electric vehicle. So hybrid vehicle provides an ideal transitory stage before the zero emission vehicle can be prepared for mass production. So before we can actually go to the implementation of electric vehicle, and there are several challenges in it. So the one of the good option is to use hybrid vehicle. So a definition of a hybrid vehicle is one that derives propulsion from multiple distinct type of energy sources with the possibility of removing friction energy using recuperation power system. So with the same time regenerative braking, through the regenerative braking it charges the battery also, as well. So an example of a okay. So one of the propulsion power source function as the main power source, and the secondary propulsion power source is in these hybrid vehicle assists the primary power source. So basically, there are two power source. So one is the IC engine, and the one more will be the other source. So one will be the primary, and another will be the assisting it. So hybrid electric vehicle combine the electric motor and high voltage battery of a purely electric vehicle with the internal combustion engine of a conventional vehicle. So in other words, a hybrid electric vehicle system utilizes the advantage of both an internal combustion engine and electric energy sources. So so if we are using internal combustion engine alone, then if we use it in a hybrid mode, then it increases the efficiency of the internal combustion engine, because in the starting time it is not so efficient. So the vehicle can be started using the motor, and it increases the life. If we use alone the electric battery for the electric vehicle, then we cannot run it for the longer duration. So overall, both of the architecture gets benefited. So this is the architecture of hybrid electric vehicle. So we have the electric motor, we have a combustion engine, and then combustion engine. If there is a combustion engine, then there will be a gasoline tank and or petrol or diesel tank, and then if there is an electric motor, then we have a battery. So now there are different types of differentiation in how in combination these two are used. So accordingly it is uh, classified. So in terms of vehicle hybridization, there are three main category of hybrid system. So that is called micro hybrid, and then you got mild hybrid, and then you got full hybrid. So if we come to the micro hybrid, so a micro hybrid is a vehicle. So almost all of the vehicle whatever we are getting, so they are in some sense micro hybrid. So what is it? The micro hybrid is a vehicle in which an electric machine functions in applications such as stop start and regenerative braking, but not to supply additional torque when the engine is running. To date, most micro-hybrid applications have been focused on a small gasoline engine, but the achievement of a stop-start in a diesel engine is a considerably greater challenge due to the much higher starting torque requirement. So here the auxiliary system, what it does, when you have to start or all the auxiliary system, so that can be done using the battery source, but it does not provide the it does not contribute in the torque sharing. So now what is a mild hybrid? So a mild hybrid has an electric motor generator integrated to provide up to approximately 10% of the maximum engine power in the form of additional torque. So whatever is the engine maximum engine power, so if 10% of that is able to provided by the electric motor generator system, then that comes into the mild hybrid. So mild hybrid electric vehicle improve the drawbacks of fossil fuel vehicle, where engine efficiency is not at its maximum level. They do so by utilizing a large motor generator in a parallel configuration with internal combustion engine. The ICE consumes more fuel and emits more emission when coasting, braking, or idling. So mild hybrid electric vehicle can provide some level of power assistance to the engine whenever the engine is not efficient. Whenever engine is not efficient, like at the time of coasting or idling, starting. So at those time, the electric motor can be used. So moreover, during idling, they can turn off the engine and use electric power instead. So that's fine. So an exclusive electric propulsion mode is not possible in such vehicles. To replenish the batteries, it is possible to integrate low level of energy recuperation systems such as regenerative braking system. Compared to conventional ICE, mild hybrid electric vehicle improve vehicle emission, especially in high stop-start traffic. So if wherever you have a more traffic, So even though their fuel consumption is less efficient than full hybrid electric vehicle. So some of their like Chevrolet Malibu hybrid and Stan Ira Green Line. So these are in the some of the mild hybrid electric vehicle. So there is a full hybrid. So now comes a full hybrid is one. So 10%, if there was 10% of the torque sharing, then that comes to the mild hybrid. And if we are able to share at least 40% of the maximum engine power as additional torque, then that comes to the full hybrid system. So full hybrid electric vehicle utilizes a large electric motor and battery, thus providing the flexibility for better engine sizing. In other words, the electric drive can facilitate the downsizing of the engine by adding enough power to maintain operation at a higher percentage of rated torque. So I mean, engine size can be decreased, and then that can be provided by the electric motor. Usually, the size of batteries and motors in full hybrid electric vehicle meets acceleration requirements, whereas the engine design satisfies the minimum specified gradability. So like whatever you have to climb a hill, or so you should be able to generate that much of the torque. So compared to ICEs, full hybrid electric vehicle improve vehicle fuel consumption and reduce vehicle emission at the expense of adding complexity to the powertrain structure while also increasing the cost weight of the vehicle. So obviously the components will increase, so the weight will increase, and then the cost will increase. So this is a kind of comparison. So like when there's a micro hybrid, micro mild hybrid and full hybrid vehicle. So you can see that full hybrid having all the functionality, engine start, regenerative braking, motor assistance, electric drive. Mild hybrid cannot have fully electric drive, and micro is having a little bit assistance. So coming to the full hybrid vehicle, so full hybrid is basically divided into three parts, or in four categories also: parallel hybrid, series hybrid, and power split, that is parallel series, and then one is the compound hybrid. So we'll see one by one that how this what is the architecture of this full hybrid configurations. So although there are several powertrain architecture of hybrid electric vehicles, the main one includes series hybrid, parallel hybrid, power split hybrid, and complex hybrid. So in parallel hybrid configuration, it is the most popular configuration in hybrid electric vehicles. This configuration mechanically couples the mechanical and electrical powers along their use either simultaneously or independently. So you can see, so this is a motor, and then there is a IC engine, you have a clutch, and then through the gearbox it is connected to the differential. So it can be used both motor or IC engine simultaneously, or it can be used independently as well. So in parallel hybrid configuration, we have couple of types, like pre-transmission parallel hybrid powertrain. So first we have internal combustion engine, then we have electric drive motor, then we have the transmission, or post-transmission parallel hybrid. So first we have internal combustion engine, then we have transmission, and then we have electric motor, and then it is connected to the differential. Another one is double shaft parallel hybrid. So motor is on a different shaft, and then the IC engine is on a different shaft, and then it is the torque is coupled by a mechanical coupling, and then it is connected to the differential. So these are the few configuration of the parallel hybrid configuration. So now we'll see the series hybrid configuration. So in this configuration, an electric motor provides electric traction, while a small IC engine drives the electric generator, providing power for the driving electric motor and efficiently charge the battery. So what we saw in the parallel hybrid configuration, that both of them can be used simultaneously, that is electric motor. What we saw, that either we can use electric motor or IC engine simultaneously or together. But what happens in series hybrid configuration, that IC engine charges the motor, and then the motor connects to the differential, and then it transfers the torque to the wheel. So this arrangement is called series hybrid configuration. So in other words, the propulsion system of a series hybrid electric vehicle is an electric motor with batteries that can be charged through a generator driven by an IC. In this architecture, since there is no direct link between engine and the driving wheel, the combustion engine can operate in its most efficient range regardless of the vehicle load and speed. The substantial difference between the series and parallel configuration relates to the electric motor and transmission system. Although it is possible to integrate a torque amplification device in order to improve the performance of the electric motor and reduce its size, the motor used in series configuration must be significantly more powerful than those used in parallel configuration. This is because it must be capable of providing all necessary tractive power. So there what was happened, that since both we were using in the parallel hybrid configuration, both were being used. Just a second. Okay. So since series configuration, parallel configuration, both of them could have been used simultaneously. So their torque requirement could have been managed by, if the electric motor is of less torque, then that could have been managed by the IC engine. But here, since IC engine is through the generator, it is charging the battery, so the motor has to be of that much capable to generate the desired torque. So this series hybrid configuration has various operating mode. So what are those modes? So that is engine alone traction mode. So in this mode, what will so like when engine you are just directly uh, through the engine you are charging the battery, and then it is driving the motor. So in this mode, the combustion engine only provides the total required power for the vehicle motion through the generator, while the electric motor acts as an electric transmission between the engine and the driving wheel. The batteries neither provide nor receive any power from the drivetrain. So it directly IC engine runs the motor. So that becomes engine alone traction mode. Then comes electric alone traction mode. In this mode, the engine is off and the electric source supplies the total required power for vehicle motion. So in this case, what will happen? IC engine will remain off, and then the motor will be totally taken care by the battery system, or whatever be the source. So hybrid mode. So in this mode, the engine, generator and battery simultaneously deliver traction power to the wheel. So so whatever be the energy source, so that will be taken by the generator as well, and then battery as well. So engine traction and battery charging mode. So in this mode of operation, the engine generator provides the traction power while charging the battery. So now there is a regeneration mode. So the regenerating braking system charges the batteries during braking, decelerating and downhill travel. In this mode, the traction motor operates as a generator and the engine generator is not active. So in this condition, whenever the braking, decelerating and downhill travel, so engine will be off, and then the motor as a generator, it will charge the battery. So battery charging mode. In this mode, the traction motor stops while the batteries are charged by the engine generator. Okay, and then the last one is the hybrid battery charging mode. So both the engine generator and traction motor operate as a generator and charge the battery simultaneously. So it can be charged quickly. So hybrid battery charging mode. So these are the mode of the series hybrid electric vehicle. So now the third configuration of it is the power split configuration. It is also called series parallel configuration. So the design of power split hybrid or series parallel hybrid system take advantage of the best feature of both series and parallel hybrid. So here we have both of the luxury and provides a more efficient hybrid powertrain system. In comparison with the parallel hybrid powertrain, a series parallel uses an additional electric motor that partially function as a generator. So you can see that. So here it can act as a series mode as well. Like engine is charging the generator, and then generator will and then it will run the motor, and then it will go to the differential, or it can take the advantage of both engine and motor, and then power split will couple it, and then it goes to differential. So in other words, this system split the power from the engine between two paths. One transfer the power to the wheel through mechanical gear system, and other transfer the power to the wheel through a generator and electric motor. So directly through the engine we transfer, and then through the engine or generator, engine generator motor, and then we transfer it. So it takes the advantage of both of the system. So the main benefit of this system over the series system is that it allows the decoupling of engine power from the electric motor, therefore providing more flexibility in power control. Using this structure, it is possible to compensate for the deficiency of conventional combustion engine by providing the required torque at lower speeds by utilizing electric motor. So, so at lower speed, the electric motor can be used, and then in turn it can increase the efficiency. So drawback of this hybrid powertrain system includes its complexity and a complicated power management system. So a series parallel hybrid powertrain use a power split device to effectively combine the engine driving power and the motor driving power. So for this, a planetary gear electrically controlled continuous variable transmission (ECVT) and magnetic continuous variable transmission (MCVT) are the main devices used to combine the power. So these are the topology of ECVT. So you have basically a planetary gear set, you have a ring gear, carrier, sun gear. In MCVT, actually it is no mechanical contact is there. So you have a ring, modulating ring, you have the outer ring, you have the inner ring, and it is magnetically controlled. So the last configuration is the compound hybrid configuration. So compound hybrid configuration is generally used for if both of the axles are powered. So you can see this is a rear wheel hybrid, front wheel electric, rear wheel hybrid. So you can see this is the rear wheel hybrid, and then front wheel electric. So this is front wheel has the it has a motor, and then it is connected to the differential, and then you can see the rear wheel is connected to, again you can see engine, and then there is a motor, and then there is a power split device, and then it goes to the differential. So so this is the compound hybrid configuration. So one more type is plug-in. So those that was the four type of the hybrid electric vehicle: series, parallel, and then the power split, and then compound hybrid configuration. Then last one was in plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. So plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, what it does, so it combines the advantage of hybridization with the chance to travel using only electricity provided by the grid for a certain time, rather than just through internal recharging Similar to hybrid electric vehicle, the energy used to power a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle comes from both the internal combustion engine and a battery pack. So first, it will run only through the battery, and when it is discharged, then only and then other sources will be used. However, the primary power source of plug-in hybrid electric vehicle is electricity, while the IC may be used as the secondary power source. So then one is the fuel cell. So now the whatever the battery uh, problem we had, so like its density is small, is lesser, and it is not able to. We are not able to drive it for a longer duration. So one of the good replacement is fuel cell electric vehicle, but still this also has many challenges. So basically hydrogen is used, so hydrogen itself brings many challenges in terms of its storage, transmission. So but still fuel cell electric vehicle is coming is lots of research is going on, and it is also a potential candidate. So using batteries as the only energy source in battery electric vehicle is limiting in a number of ways. Most importantly, this reliance on batteries result in limited driving range and extended recharging time. Recently, the application of fuel cells as an energy source in electric vehicle have received great attention. Fuel cell vehicle are use fuel cell to generate electricity from hydrogen fuel through gasoline like liquid, and methanol have fueled some fuel cell. So methanol is also, I mean, now countries one like they are coming to methanol blended petrol. This is a good candidate as well. So unlike batteries, ultra capacitor, and flywheels, a fuel cell is not a storage device. It is an energy source unit where generated electricity either provides direct power to the traction motor or remains stored in the onboard energy storage for future use. In electric vehicle, the use of fuel cell is superior to the use of batteries for a number of reasons. These reasons include a shorter reactant feeding time compared to the long recharge time of batteries, a longer lifetime, and a less maintenance requirement. So basically, when and suppose if there is an existing uh, vehicle, and if someone wants to convert it to the fuel cell electric vehicle, then the tank, I mean, that tank can be replaced with the fuel with the hydrogen storage tank, and then engine can be replaced by electric motor, and then fuel cell can be additionally can be placed there. So there in terms of modification, there is not so much challenge. So the most prominent advantage of fuel cell electric vehicle is their driving range, which is similar to that of the vehicle operating with an IC engine. This is because what determines the fuel cell electric vehicle range is the amount of hydrogen fuel available in the fuel tank, that is independent of the fuel cell size. In fact, the relevance of fuel cell size is contingent on the required power level of the fuel cell electric vehicle. Extremely low or no emission level is another notable benefit of using hydrogen fuel cell. So the output is what? That is the water and heat. So the fuel cell virtually it eliminates the greenhouse gas emissions as well, but still it has quite a lot of challenges. So this is the schematic of a fuel cell, and you can say this is the fuel cell electric vehicle architecture. So we have a hydrogen tank, and then we have a fuel cell stack, and then this fuel cell stack can be either directly used to run the electric motor, or it can be used to charge batteries as well. And again, this battery can I mean, downhill or deceleration or braking. In those time, this electric motor can use using the regenerative braking system. It can be charged. Battery can be charged as well. So there are different types of the fuel cell. So like polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell, direct methanol fuel cell, alkaline fuel cell, phosphoric acid fuel cell, molten carbonate fuel cell, solid oxide fuel cell. So it has a great potential. So if we compare battery electric vehicle, hybrid electric vehicle, and uh, plug-in electric vehicle, so we can see the for the propulsion battery electric vehicle, for the summary, if we see, then we use electric motor drive, fuel cell electric vehicle, electric motor drive, and HEV, internal combustion engine, and electric motor drive. Plug-in, we have electric motor drive and IC engine as a secondary. So energy storage, battery electric, we have battery, super capacitor, fuel cell, battery, super capacitor, and then hydrogen tank. Hybrid electric vehicle, we have battery, super capacitor, and then fuel tank. Plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, we will have battery, super capacitor, and fuel tank. So if you show the energy source, so battery electric vehicle source is the grid electricity, onboard electricity charging. Fuel cell, we have hydrogen or onboard electricity charging. Hybrid electric vehicle, we have gasoline, diesel, or onboard electricity charging. Plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, we have grid electricity, gasoline or diesel, onboard electricity charging. So if we compare in terms of advantage and disadvantage, so uh, we can see that battery electric vehicle gives zero local emission, high energy efficiency, and independent of fossil fuel, class level, and it is commercially available. Disadvantage is that it goes relatively short range and then high initial cost. Major issue is the battery size, management, charging infrastructure. Fuel cell electric vehicle, it also has it has actually it is almost zero local emission, and overall emission as well. High energy efficiency, independent of fossil fuel, if not using fossil fuel to produce hydrogen. And disadvantage is the initial cost is high, but it is under development. Major issue is the fuel cell cost, fuel cell life cycle, reliability, hydrogen production, hydrogen distribution, infrastructure. Hybrid electric vehicle is low local emission. Advantage is low local emission, high fuel economy, long driving range. It is commercially available. But disadvantage is it is dependency on fossil fuel. And the major issues again, battery sizing, management, control, optimization. So these things are there. So if you go to plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, so the similar advantage is minimum local emission, higher fuel economy than ICE, longer driving range, and the slight disadvantage, if we see, then slightly dependence on fossil fuel. And issue is again same, battery sizing, management, control, and optimization. So if we see few of the government policies in electric vehicle, so the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan 2020 is one of the most important and ambitious initiative undertaken by the Government of India that has the potential to bring about a transformation paradigm shift in the automotive and transportation industry in the country. This is a culmination of a comprehensive collaborative planning for promotion of hybrid and electric mobility in India through a combination of policies aimed at gradually ensuring a vehicle population of about 6 to 7 million electric hybrid vehicle in India, along with a certain level of indigenization of technology, ensuring India's global leadership in some vehicle segment. It is a composite scheme using different policy levels such as demand side incentives to facilitate acquisition of hybrid electric vehicle, promoting R&D in technology including battery technology, power electronics, motor system integration, promoting charging infrastructure, supply side incentive, encouraging retrofitment of on-road vehicle with hybrid kit, that existing system can be replaced. So FAME, that is faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicle. So FAME India is a part of National Electric Mobility Mission plan. Main thrust of the FAME is to encourage electric vehicle by providing subsidies. The FAME India scheme is aimed at incentivizing all vehicle segments. So it has the two phases. Phase 1 which end in 2019, and phase 2 started in 2019 and expected to complete by 2022. So it covers hybrid and electric technologies like mild hybrid, strong hybrid, plug-in hybrid. Monitoring authority is made a Department of Heavy Industries, the Ministry of Heavy Industries. FAME India, it has the four focus area: technology development, demand creation, pilot project, charging infrastructure. So basically, objective is to encourage faster adoption of electric and hybrid vehicles. So similarly, actually, all of the state has a different little accordingly guidelines, and most of the state are providing subsidies in if someone wants to start any startup in this area, or if someone wants to buy an electric vehicle. So these are a few silent feature of phase 2. So emphasis on electrification of the public transportation. This phase aims to support through subsidy approximately 7,000 e-buses, 5 lakh three-wheelers, 55,000 four-wheeler passenger car, and 10 lakh two-wheelers. Three-wheel, four-wheel segment incentive will be applied mainly to vehicles used for public transport or registered for commonly purpose. Two-wheel segment focus will be on the private vehicles. And to encourage advanced technology, the benefit of incentives will be extended to only those vehicles which are fitted with advanced batteries like a lithium-ion battery and other new technology batteries. The scheme proposed for establishment of charging infrastructure, whereby about 2,700 charging stations will be established in metros, smart cities, and cities of hilly state across the country, so that there will be availability of at least one charging station in a grid of 3 kilometer across 3 kilometer. If this plan is achieved, then I think the time will not be far that electric vehicle will be used quite a lot by in India. So establishment of charging station are also proposed on major highway connecting major city clusters. On such highway, charging station will be established on both sides of the road at an interval of about 25 kilometers each. So similarly, there are national plans on transformative mobility and battery storage 2019. So through phased manufacturer program, it was scheduled to be launched to localize production across the entire AV value chain. The national mission on transformative mobility and battery storage will determine the contours of a phased manufacturing program and will finalize the detail of such program. So these programs impact is that the mission will drive mobility solution that will bring in significant benefits to the industry, economy, and country. This solution will help improve air quality in cities along with reduced uh, India's oil important dependency and enhance the uptake of renewable energy and storage solution. The mission will lay down the strategy and roadmap which will enable India to leverage upon its size and scale to develop a competitive domestic manufacturing ecosystem for electric mobility. The action in this regard will benefit all citizens, as the aim is to promote ease of living and enhance the quality of life of our citizens, and also provide employment opportunity through Make in India across the range of skill set. So this was all regarding the electric vehicle. Okay, so one slide I have had as a comparison among the various EVs in Indian market. So I was looking at it, and there are more EVs as well, but the prominent what I see is that MG ZS EV, Tata Nexon, and Hyundai Kona Electric. So these three are prominent. This has come in the market, and if we compare these in terms of powertrain, range, and charging time and warranty, so this is the scenario. Motor, all three are using permanent magnet synchronous motor. Power is good, 129 HP, 143 HP, 136 HP. Torque is 245 Newton meter, 353, 395. Battery, all three are using lithium ion. Acceleration from rest is very good, 4.3, 3.79, 4 seconds. Range is as tested, it is 208 kilometer, 317 and 250 kilometer. Charging time, if there is a portable charger, then little higher, and if fast charger, then DC fast charger, then 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 1 hour. So, and if we see in then warranty, in terms of warranty, then vehicle warranty is 3 years for Tata Nexon, 5 years for ZS, and 3 years for Hyundai. So battery is 8 years, 8 years, 8 years. So all three are giving 8 years of battery warranty. So this is the prominent battery electric vehicle in the market, electric vehicle in the Indian market. So, so yeah, so that was from my side for electric vehicle. So like you see here, like motors, these all these three are using permanent magnet synchronous motor. So few like Tesla, they have used induction motor as well, and a few of the people have started using or started doing research on in the switch reluctance motor has gone its application, has seen its application in a heavy vehicle, and quite a lot of research is going on incorporation of switch reluctance motor in electric vehicle. So I would like to take 10 or 15 minutes. I will just give a brief. So when I had visited our research lab VTT. So there I had worked on levitation of a switch reluctance motor. So I was getting some message. Some is there any quiz or so? Can anyone please see time of quiz and duration? Is there any quiz scheduled or can I go ahead?
Yes, sir. Quiz time will be for 1 hour. Yes, sir.
So when is it?
It is in the last session of this day.
Okay, so can I go ahead now?
Yeah, you can, sir. No problem.
Sir, actually the quiz is for participant, sir.
Quiz.
Sir, sorry.
The quiz is for participant in the validity.
Okay, validatory set. All right. Okay. So I want to share another slide. Is it visible? Is this SRM? Is it written?
It's conversion to BSRM. Yes, sir. It is visible.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. So particularly, I didn't remove their logo because I had worked there. This work was done there. So this is a switch reluctance motor, and the problem with the switch reluctance motor was invented quite a long. In 1900 century itself, and but people could not use it because the lack of the this power controller device. What you have to do is that here, the excitation in the coils has to be switched from one, see, these are called the tooth. So these are the tooths. So there are various configuration of switch reluctance motor. So 12 by 8 or 8 by 6. So 12 by 8, when you say that that is 12 teeth on the stator and 8 teeth on the rotor. So what it happens? So like when stator is excited, so like the coil of that particular teeth is excited, then what happens? So you can see that if this is the stator teeth and this is the rotor teeth. So what happens? So once let's see this one. So once what happens? The coil is excited for this teeth. So magnetic field line it starts flowing. So what happens? It tries to minimize its energy, and due to that, what happens is rotor will try to align the stator. All right. So in that way, what happens when we keep on switching the stator excitation, rotor keeps on moving, and in that way we are able to generate the rotation. But in that process, what happens? It is quite noisy. So quite a lot of radial force is also generated, and since there is a switching, so there is a torque ripple as well. So what I had worked over here is that I worked on the development of a BSRM, bearingless switch reluctance motor. So the aim was that so always there should be a constant upward force. So whenever we are switching it, so there always should be a constant upward force acting on the rotor, so that with the rotation we are able to get the levitation as well. Okay, so the same thing can be applied. So when we are using it in electric vehicle, so aim would be so we are able to switch it, and then the vertical force we can generate, or radial force we can generate to control the vibration. So that may help in little bit reduction of noise as well. All right. So the content will be this is the basic levitation, ESRM strategy, numerical modeling and analytical modeling, and then few results. So what we had done. So I will just go brief, not in detail. So what happens? So inductance modeling is one of the challenge in here, and quite a lot of work has been done in SRM. So we had assumed a very simple model. So like if y is the distance, so this is you can see the green picture here. So if this is the rotor, and so if we have excited the top coil, and then the rotor will move up, and then whatever is the air gap vertically. So if I call it y, all right. So y is the air gap. So I assume that the inductance of the coil will change inversely with respect to y. So this model, so this is just we assumed this model for the inductance variation, and then we tried to find out this coefficient. So there was a MATLAB command nlimfit. So we use that to find out these coefficient. So once inductance is found out, so we can calculate the energy. Half Li square is the energy, and once we differentiate it with respect to y, then that will give me the force acting in the y direction. So similarly, if we differentiate with respect to x, so if my inductance is a function of x, if we differentiate with respect to x, then it will give me the force in the x direction. Or if if inductance is a function of both x and y, then the same function we can use to get the force along x and y direction. So this is we try to match it, and with measured and value and the fitted value. So with the experimental result, this inductance variation matched quite a good way. So once so this is calculated, so fine, then a small control loop can be made for the levitation control. So what was the strategy for the levitation here? So what happens? So you can see that so this is the stator teeth and this is the rotor teeth. So here stator is fully aligned, and here the stator and rotor is not fully aligned. So when it rotates, this alignment is changing. So one of the rotor will be having, the large alignment, and one will be having lesser alignment. So that case, what will happen? That some of one will be having a larger force in this direction, and this one will be having a smaller force. So accordingly, if we want a constant force to be generated vertically, then in that direction, so wherever the teeth we have the lesser alignment, so that should have the higher amount of current. So, so accordingly, we analyze the few of the orientation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 orientation. Like, see, if we excite this coil, then what will happen? These two, this rotor will get aligned with this teeth. So that is what next diagram is there. You can see that this is aligned now. So once it is aligned, so what will happen now? We will excite the next coil, this coil, this coil. So now if we, so here it is unaligned. So now if we align this coil, then we can see that the here rotor and stator is aligned. So now we will excite that coil where it is not aligned. So you can see this one it is not aligned. So if we excite this one, it will get aligned. So this way we get a complete rotation, and in that way we see that so what are the combination we are able to get. So generally to generate the radial force in a switch reluctance motor, so there are various kind of topologies has been used. Like suppose if you are having the equal amount of then what will happen, there will be a symmetry, and in that case you will not get the enough amount of the force to levitate it. So in that case, what people has done is that, so they have done two sets of coil. So one set of coil is used to increase the magnetic field density wherever you want to increase the force, and another set of coil is used to decrease the magnetic field. So suppose if you reverse the current direction, so there are two coil in the top and two coil in the down. So if we keep the same direction of the if we keep the current direction in that way, that both of the magnetic field aligns, it will have in the same direction, then magnetic field density will increase, and then another one it will decrease. So in that case, we are able to generate force, required force as per our wish, wherever we want. So this was the one type of topology, dual set of winding, and Takamoto, I think in 1990s or 1992 or 3, they started working on this, and they are the pioneer now, and they are the first one who have developed this technology. The second one was the single set of winding. That, okay, why do I need a two set of coil? I can have a single set of coil. I can have a single set, so I put more amount of current in that coil itself and lesser amount of current in other one, so that I get the higher force, higher magnetic field density, and then higher radial force over here. So in that case, any two tooth can be chosen as per the rotation sequence, and then forces can be controlled. Another one that I have not mentioned here is called bridge configured winding scheme. So my PhD is actually based on that bridge configured winding scheme. So that is also actually a single set of winding scheme. But there in the single set of winding scheme only, the two set of supply can be incorporated, and that two set of supplies, the additional set of supply is used to create the difference of this magnetic field density. I mean, they will they can create the difference in the current flowing in the coil. All right. So for the numerical modeling, like I had done this COMSOL, and then there was a finite element code. So magnetic diffusion equation was used, and then rotor element and stator element was used, 8 noded quadrilateral element, And then for air gap, a triangular element was used, so that a band was used, and then it was after each rotation it was matched. And then after the discretizing, we got elemental equation and then the global equation. So and once we solve it, then we get a magnetic vector potential at each node. And once a magnetic vector potential is known, then at each node in the air gap we are able to calculate the magnetic field density along x and y direction. So once x and y direction magnetic field density is known, then we can calculate magnetic field density in normal and tangential direction, and then accordingly we can calculate Maxwell force density. So that is bn square minus bt square by 2 unit, and then tangential. And once this is calculated, so we can take its component, and we can calculate the force acting in x and y direction. So accordingly, this is how numerically it is done. Actually, the same technique is being used if you are using any software like COMSOL or Maxwell. So analytical modeling, the challenge is that as I said, so there is a stator and there is a rotor. So when we move the rotor towards a stator, so and when we excite the coil, so magnetic field line passes from a stator to rotor. So one is the direct, so from a stator to rotor it passes, and one is the fringing flux, so which goes from the side, so upper side, lower side. So this, if we have to analytically model it, then we have to assume any shape. So people have taken the shape of the magnetic path. So few like Takamoto, he used the elliptical shape of the magnetic field lines. Then he simplified it further. He took it as average of the quarter circle. Then my colleague Timu there, he modified it further. He took these lines. He took these lines as average of the quarter circle, and sum of axis was used for the ellipse arc length. And there is a variable k was used here to consider the length of the flux lines, and the k he also assumed as a function of theta, that as this theta will be changing, this length of the flux will be changing. So accordingly, so this is the P2 what Takamoto was getting, and this is the P2 what we had got. So this was the permeance equation, which was quite modified. And once we got the permeance equation, so we tried to solve a magnetic equivalent circuit considering the 4 coils are excited. So suppose if we consider this, sorry. So if we consider that 4 coils are excited, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So there will be 4 loops. So there will be 4 loops. So we forms a magnetic equivalent circuit. And if we solve this, then we can once we write the MMF equation for each loop, and we put L is equal to phi is equal to Li, and then if we compare it, then we get direct inductances and then direct and then coupled one inductances. So this direct induction, since we were trying to generate a force, so we assumed that this direct inductances will have the higher participation. So considering this only, we calculated the energy, and then we differentiated it, and then we got the force. So we consider the Lg. So this is how we got Fx and Fy acting along x and y direction. So further, like there we were trying that there is only one coil in the stator teeth. So for that we come into the consideration that suppose if we have we took 2 variables, like suppose IM2 is a fixed current going in this teeth, and IM2 is going in this teeth also fixed current. So what will be the amount of current we should change in the top coil number 2, teeth number 2, and what should be the current we should change in the teeth number 4. So we assume that this is IT2. We give a variable. So now, so I2 current flowing in the T2 was IM2 plus IT2. Then in the fourth it was minus IM2 plus IT2. So substituting similarly other 1 and 3. So we substituted over here, and then we got a force expression in terms of IT1 and IT2. So if we kept the IM2 and IM1 as a constant. So now if we are able to, we can directly control it using IT1 and IT2. So that's what we do. So this was the inductance matrix we got, and furthermore we modified it. And after modification, we got in this term, so fx is equal to this. So this we call it kxx, ky, kxy, kyx, kyy. And then if we take a simple levitation system, mx double dot is equal to f force. So and if we write in a state space form, so this becomes your state space representation. And then we can just apply a simple PID controller, and then we try to levitate it. So this is the current actually what we were getting in each of the coil. So simple levitation we had tried, rotation we had tried, and this was the simple block diagram for the control implementation. And this was the comparison of the numerical and then few more models, like how good it is for the levitation as well as the torque. So this was an initial study. So why I discussed is that, so if anyone is willing to work on the switch reluctance motor, so they can start working on it. And it is a very easy to implement, and well, it is difficult to control a little bit. There is a difficulty in terms of power electronics, but if once started, it is a very good candidate. So in our lab, I have developed one switch reluctance motor totally in our workshop, and let's hoping to implement it further. So that was it from my side. Thank you. So if you have any question, you can ask. Yes, please. I think it become one-sided, so hope you liked it.
So, dear participants, if you are having any questions, you can unmute your mic and ask the sir. If you want, you can message in the chat box so that we can inform to the sir whatever you are asking. Sir, one question we have in the chat box. What are the challenges in retrofitting?
Yeah, retrofitting actually, I mean, challenges we can say that well, it is see, if we make any system only for something, then it becomes more efficient. But if we are changing something to incorporate something, then it becomes difficult, because then you have to see that how to fit it, like how to suppose if you have to fix a motor, then accordingly you have to see the powertrain, and then for like it is not that efficient. So but retrofitting is a very good option to start with. So yeah, that's what I will say.
Okay, sir. Hope Santosh Kumar, maybe you got the answer. Any more questions?
All right.
So, not getting any questions now. So, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your excellent presentation. No
Thank
doubt,
you.
related all the participants. So sure.
And
So-
whenever, if any one of you is willing to share any knowledge, or if you want to discuss anything, feel free to reach me out. My email address is gkumar.mea@iitbs.ac.in. So I will always welcome any query. Thank you. Thank you. So now I will stop. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So participants, I'm having some information announcements for you about the next sessions. First session will be having by 11:30 a.m. The speaker will be Dr. Arun Kumar. After that, by 2:30 p.m. we'll be having one more session, that is valedictory section. In that, we'll be having quiz of 1 hour and vote of thanks by the FDP coordinator. So all are requested to be on time for these two sessions. Those are the last sessions of this day, and this is the last day of the FDP also. So thank you for attending. So we'll meet by 11:30 again. So attendance link I'm sharing now. So please be have patience. Sorry for late